Okay, so we are creating an algorithm. This is week 8 algorithm day. So we're creating a function that takes in a list and reverses a list. Now, again, this is very similar to what we did last week. So with that in mind, there were some tricks we did. So we're going to want to do that. We're going to want to use those tricks, but let's come and let's pseudocode.
But I mean, the answer is in the upper left-hand corner of the screen because you isn't it?
No, not anymore.
Well, he was not going to use that one, remember?
Yeah. I want us
Well,
to think, the whole point is I want us to think through how we're going to do this, right? And again, because you're not going to have Copilot
okay,
whenever
okay,
you're
I
doing a job, so you're not going to have that. So you need to learn how to do this on your own. You know what I mean?
okay.
Cool. So what are we doing? We're pseudocoding, and can anybody remind me what pseudocode means?
So it's basically where you kind of write out what you're going to need for the algorithm and the different tools that you're going to have to use.
Yeah, exactly. I write out my steps in plain English or
Right.
whatever language you use, right? So what are my steps? Here's my prompt. Create a function that takes in a list and reverses reverses the list. So what is my first thing I'm doing here?
So you're going to write DEF.
So remember, we're pseudocoding. So we're not writing
Okay,
code
right,
yet.
right.
So what is the first thing I want to do?
We're going to write a function.
Yeah, we're going to create a function.
Yes.
Exactly what you were saying, Kevin. We're just not writing yet. We're just doing a pseudocode. And does that
Yeah.
function have a parameter, or is it an empty function?
Yes, it will have a parameter.
Okay, what tells you it's going to have a parameter?
Um, because it takes in a list.
Exactly. Takes in a list, accepts a list, accepts an array, because an array and list are the same thing. Um, any of those keywords tell us, hey, we need a parameter. Great job. Cool. So once I have that, let's think about this. Once I have that, what do I want to do?
You want to create an empty list.
Okay.
You want to just assign an empty list to a variable.
Okay. I don't hate that. Okay. Strella, what do you think is the next step?
I was thinking doing a loop.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say iterate, which is a for loop or while loop, but we're gonna do a for loop through what am I doing a for loop? Is it through the list?
Yes, a
Cool.
list.
And I'm gonna tab in because what are we gonna do within my for loop now? It's kind of two ways I'm thinking about how we could do this. Two little tricks. And then we're gonna do a more challenging version of this. So as I'm iterating through, I have this empty list assigned to a variable. Kevin gave us these first two. I'm iterating through. I think it's a good idea. What do I want to do? Any ideas?
So there's the length function. I think isn't there a certain type of function to like reverse the order or something?
We can. Let's try to not, or we'll use one built-in function.
We're
Um,
gonna do range, no?
we don't have to.
No? Okay. But we are gonna use length, obviously.
Mhm. Well, if I just say for num and list, I'm technically going to get each number. So I don't have to use length and I don't have to use range.
Okay.
So there is a built-in function we can use. And I can say, we can use built-in function of insert to insert value at the front. So if we think about it, at the very beginning, I'm going to do 1 and I'm just going to insert that into the 0 position, right? Then when it gets to the 2, I'm going to insert that at the front position. 3, it gets to the front position and everything moves over. 4 and then 5, that will reverse that. And then maybe I just print new list. It's not printing print. Okay. So this is version 1. So I'm going to say version 1. We're going to do 2 different versions just to show the 2 different things we can do. And then we're going to do a harder part of this algorithm. Okay. So let's go write this code. So I'm going to say def reverse list takes in listy, right? And I'm just going off the pseudocode. What should we create? What should we call this new variable? We're on this step right here.
Now we're doing the new list, right?
Yeah. So what should we call it? It can be anything we want, guys. It can be literally anything.
Your favorite unicorn.
Unicorn. I always say unicorn because I just feel like it's outrageous, just to really reiterate the point that it can be anything you want. So for years I've said unicorn and cupcake, just because, unicorn doesn't make sense. And so just to be like, no, this can be anything. It can be unicorn if we wanted it to be. Okay. So we have unicorn. Now we're going to iterate through the list and we're going to do it without range. So we're going to, how do I do that again? I typed it a little bit earlier. So I'm not doing it with range. There's another way I can iterate through something, especially a list, iterate through a list.
I'm trying to think what it's called, but it's like the start stop kind of thing.
So they both have a start stop, range or this one doesn't have a start stop. Sorry.
Okay.
Range has a start stop. This is just saying, hey, I want to go through this list and I want to assign each item. Kevin, any ideas?
I don't know. I was looking for a built-in function. I looked at the algorithms that we did earlier on for
Mm-hmm.
functions too, I think was the core assignment, and I couldn't find any built-in functions that would help with
We're going to use the
trying
built-in
to do right now.
function insert. That's the one, right? That's in
Oh,
our pseudocode.
insert. Oh, I was
That's what we'll
thinking
use.
index for whatever reason.
No, yeah, we're gonna use this in insert. But remember, I can say for num in, and then in this case, we called it listy. This is the second way we can write a for loop, right? If we write it this way, we're gonna go through the entirety of listy. So we're gonna make sure we hit every value inside of it, and we're gonna start at the beginning. If I want to do anything different, if I want to start at the second number or the fifth number, or skip one, right? That's when I need to use range. But right here, I can say for num and listy.
And we have to put listy instead of list because list is a keyword, correct?
Well, listy is what I called it up here, whatever I'm referring to here. If I would have called this cupcake, I'm going to do it. Then we say for num and cupcake.
Okay.
Again, just to reiterate, it can be anything we want.
Could we just call it list?
But you're right. I was about to say, you're right, Kevin. We cannot say lists. That's why I said
Right.
listy or some list.
Yeah.
Right.
So that I'm going to
Because-
keep it as
because list-
cupcake. Go ahead.
Because list is an actual keyword.
Exactly.
Mm.
Right.
Cool. So now what I can do is I can say unicorn dot insert, and let's look at how insert works. Insert is a method within Python. It's just a built-in method, and it inserts the value at whatever element you give it. And so if we kind of go inserts in the specified value at the specified position. So the way it works, and I would get in, encouraging, we want to make sure we're reading documentation, trying to understand stuff, because that's a huge portion. We say the list we want to insert to, in this case, we're calling it unicorn, dot insert. Then we say the position. So in this case, what index position do we want to put that at? And then the element we want to put at that position. We say insert, index position we want to put it, and then the element. So with knowing that, what do we want to do here?
So the index position would be 0
Yeah.
because we're starting from we always start at 0.
Mhm.
And then the second, what was the second?
Is the value that we're putting there.
So would that be, would it be 6? Because is it 6, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4? 4, because that's overall, or no?
We want to, what value? So remember, when we're doing a for num and cupcake, we're iterating through, and each time we're just looking at this. Right? And so if I'm creating this new list called unicorn, what value do I want to put at that position?
Would be num.
Oh,
It'd be num.
yeah.
Num, yeah.
Cool. Exactly.
Because num, that's just a generic for you could put as many values as you want.
Yeah. Well, num,
But-
remember, represents the
index.
value. No, it doesn't represent the index. This is a big thing.
I was
When
gonna
we're-
say it
when we're
represents
not-
the object.
Yeah, when we're not doing in range, the variable we create, in this case num, represents the actual value, not the index position. If I would
It
have done
represents what?
the actual value here. So even if this was a string that said hello, the value of num would be hello. Num just represents the value itself. If I do in range, that's when the value just represents an index position, like a numeric number. But let's say that I'm going to have an example list, and I'm going to do it like this. Now, as we're iterating through, when I say for num in cupcake, let's pretend that I passed in example list to my function. I now am referring to it as cupcake. When I say for num, the first iteration, right? Let me get my annotate tool. The first iteration of num is hello
Hello.
world. Hello. right? So num is hello, comes down. We have unicorn. And so it's inserting at position 0, which we don't have anything, so that's fine. And so it's going to be hello. Then my for loop, that's all we had. So it comes back up. So that's a for loop, right? And it goes to the next num, which is 2. So
Two.
now num equals 2, right? So then it says, okay, num now equals 2. What am I going to do? I'm going to insert at position 0. What am I going to insert? 2. So then this, ooh, what was that? So then now
Hello becomes 2.
a hello does not become 2. What happens when we insert is it pushes it over and then we say hello. When I'm inserting, it's going to move the rest of my array over.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so then now we go to the next one, num equals 3, right? So it's no longer 2, it's 3. We insert at position 0. I think you guys know where this is heading. I'm going to move that. It inserts at position 0. So now
It'll be 3,
3.
2.
And it's
Hello.
3 to hello, and then it's going to keep doing that with world and then with 6, right? And so then instead of it saying hello to 3 world 6, it's going to say 6 world 3 to hello, which is reversing our string.
So this one was a little bit harder because of the verbiage that we use. The not the verbiage, but the I guess the format that we used.
No, there's another way we could do it. There's multiple ways we could do it. But this one, maybe the hard part is if you didn't know that there was an insert method, I could see how that could pose a problem. But it's not the verbiage, because it's actually quite easy. Not easy, not like, oh, this is easy. But when we're doing this, we have less that we're having to deal with, right? Or else we would have to say like cupcake of num if it was range. And you kind of, that gets a little bit more confusing than just getting num, right? The actual number itself. I could have said val, that probably would have been better since I did strings. It's just been the value there. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes. Again, I maybe like when I would be looking for an example or for another way to reverse it, then I would have found the insert.
Yeah. Ooh, that scared the heck out of me. Okay, so let's test it and see if we get what we think we're gonna get. Yep, so we get 6 world 3 2 hello. So we have reversed our list. Now that's version 1. Let's do it with range. Just to show. So there's another way we could do it where I could say def reverse list. That still takes in, I'm gonna say listy this time. And I'm gonna say unicorn equals, or I'm gonna say reversed list equals this. Perfect. Now, let's do this with range. With range.
For
Now
I,
yeah, not for I. Or we could do for I. Go ahead, Kevin.
for I in range,
Uh-huh.
and you don't have to put the 0 because it starts at 0 as default.
Mm-hmm.
So you would just put Um,
When do I want it to
uh,
stop?
right. So reversed list,
Not reversed list, 'cause that's
listy,
just, yeah, but
listy. Yes.
specifically, I want to say the length of listy, right? Length
Yes.
of
Right.
listy is gonna give me how many values are there. Now,
Right.
one thing that we could do is we could use insert again, or do you guys remember the trick we have in a list? I can start here at 0, but if I wanted to get the last value, do you guys remember what that is? We've done it
Push and
before.
pop method.
Not the push and pop. If I just wanted to get this one, to get the last value of a list, there's like a trick we can use. We've done it before a couple times.
Using the index.
Using the index, it's an index position, but do you remember what it is?
4.
Not 4, right? This is, we want to make this dynamic. So that way, I mean, yes, it is index 4. But what if our list had 6 items in it?
Are you talking about slice?
Nope, not talking about slice. Remember, we can, if we say -1, that gets us the last value. It's a trick that we have in Python. So what I can do is I can say for I in range, and I want to start, because I'm trying to reverse it, I want to start here. Right? I want to start here, and then I want to go here, then I want to go here, then I want to go here, and then I want to go here. So then, if I want to keep going backwards, what do I want to do? Do I want to increase by 1, or what do I want to do here?
This is where you have the start, stop, and increment.
Mm-hmm.
So you would want to do a negative increment.
Exactly, -1, because that gets me -2, which is going to give me that value, -3, -4, -5, all the way through the length. Exactly. So now all I have to do is I can say reversed list dot append, and then I say listy.
So why would you put a -1 for the start? I mean, how would that get you at the very?
Because in Python, if we say, if I were to print listy of -1, so if I were to print something like this, and this is for of any, it's not just this list, it's any of them. If I say at position -1, when we're dealing with the list, it always gets me the last value. It's a way that we can traverse in the same way that we do 0,
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. If we say -1, we can go -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. So if I were to print this, it's going to give me that last value. If I'm going to print this, it's going to get me 4. Or the second to last value is really what it is. Not just 4, but second to last value. And so on and so forth. So by doing this, we're saying, hey, let's start at -1. Or it's going to start. So I is going to be -1. Let's go ahead and add listy at -1, which is 5, to my new list. Then we're going to subtract 1. So -1 minus 1 is -2. And then we're going to say, okay, I want listy at -2, which is going to be my 4. Let's go ahead and add that to my reverse list. Subtract it, goes to -3. Go on, so on and so forth. Then if I just print reverse list, should be good to go. If I run this, oh, let's see. Got an empty. So let's debug it. So we got an empty list. Run it again, make sure. Yeah, so we're getting an empty list. So this isn't working. So let's print I and just see. Verse list. It's not even entering my for loop. It's entering my function. So I'm in my function. So let's see, what did I do here?
That's a lot of ones or negative ones.
Well, it's saying, let's see what it says. I'm gonna run it and see if it worked. And then we'll try to figure out what the heck I did wrong. Yeah, no, that worked. So it's saying it's gonna start at the length of list -1.
Which is what you had originally. You just had it in front versus after.
Yeah, and I was wondering if that was gonna be an issue because I didn't know if we would ever get to my for loop or get to my condition, right? If I equals the len of list. Okay, so maybe let's just have them make this better. Okay. So what this is saying is it's saying for I in range that we're starting at the very end. I'm a little confused. I want to print listy of there's one. And I run this. It's 6. I think the issue, we can go back, is no. So I was gonna say it would if we change this. To 0, but it's never gonna hit that.
I was thinking it's because of the order, the way it was written.
I wonder if I can negative
Maybe.
typecast this. Try this. There we go. No? Getting too confusing. So what was happening is, and maybe this just isn't a great example. Good, we don't like version 2. So what was happening is I was doing -1, right? That's where we were starting and we were decrementing down. But my length of list was whatever it is, 5. And remember, it's when this equals this, that's when it gets out of my for loop. But it never is going to happen because this is going to continuously decrement to negative infinity, where this was the number 5, or however many 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And so what I had to do, and this is just makes it bad code, so I would not use this, is I had to typecast this to a negative. Because if you think about it, if we're getting down, if we're starting at -1 and we're going all the way down, well, we want to see however many values are in my list to the length. And so that's why we typecast it. But if we remember with range, if we want to get all the values, we do the length of my list +1. And so that's why we had to get a number. So this is going to be -6. Or we had to do +1 because we're starting at 1, not 0, right? So I have to get that extra value. Not great code here. So when you have to do a whole bunch of stuff like that, just
I
to get
didn't
it to
like that.
work. Yeah, just to get it to work, that's usually an indication. But I would also say if it's your first time doing it, we have a working one right here, much simpler, much easier than this. If it's your first time doing an algorithm, figure out how to get it to work, like first and foremost, right? Then if you get it working, then you can sit and say, okay, I got it working. It's ugly, not fun. How could I make this better? And this is a great example of ways to use like ChatGPT or Bard or any of those AI softwares. Is what I would encourage you is as you're going through an algorithm, like kind of trudge through it, get it going, get it working. And once you get it working, awesome. But then what you can do, and this is going to be huge for whenever we get to projects and algorithms, I'm really going to encourage you to do this, is to go to ChatGPT, and I have the pro version, so you don't have to have the pro version. There's a free one. And say, okay, we have this function, right? Say, Command Z. Can you rewrite this function to be more efficient? Document the changes you made and why they are more optimal. Please give time and space complexity, which we'll learn about, of both algorithms. This is where AI is really going to come in. Well, this is kind of cool. I've never seen this double response. But this is where it's really for you to get better at algorithms. Again, get it going, get it working, get it to where you can make it work. Okay, this works. It just is ugly. And then we sit and we say, okay, to improve the efficiency, we can leverage the built-in slicing features, which allow for a more concise and faster option. Changes made, slicing, why it's more optimal, time and space complexity. Great. Or we have the original function to actually like this one better. Time and space complexity, then the slicing operator. This one's way better. Why even would I pick that? So then you can sit and say, okay, here's my original function. Here's what it does. Here's the time and space complexity. Cool. Here's the optimized function. Here it is, leveraging C implementation, blah, 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 blah. Cool. And then it tells you, and then it gives you a summary of what it did and why it changed. So that's a great way to use AI. Get it working and then take it in and say, okay. And then if you want to understand, you're like, what do you mean slicing? Can you explain the slicing operator to me? And it will give you and teach you that, right? So if it's using a tool like how we did insert, if it's using a tool that like, hey, I've never seen that, I'm not super familiar with it, it will give you all this information and teach you, oh yeah, here's what it is, here's how you do it, here's an example. And if it doesn't give you a code example, I could have said, can you explain the slicing operator and give me code examples? It is going to give me one, as we can see. This is a great way with algorithms to practice, but you have to trudge through it at the beginning to get it working. Because don't just go and say, hey, write this, because you won't learn anything blatantly. Yeah, just kind of being blunt. You won't learn anything. But here now we have a great little explanation about slicing within Python, the start stop step, how it works, iterating through, understanding it. And if you have additional questions, you can ask that. Does that make sense?
Yes. Can you go back to or did you close it out, Will?
Oh, I did not.
I
It
wanted
was
to,
just
okay, go down onto
Mhm.
the example.
This one or the other one?
No, the bottom one when you X for the slicing.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to understand like the where it says print numbers,
Mhm.
1:4. I'm trying to
Yeah.
see how
Yeah.
did
So
they get that?
yeah. So 1:4 is going to get you start here. It's going to go all the way up to, but not including input number 4 here.
Gotcha.
So that's how we get
So it's
1, 2,
kind of
3.
so it's kind of like index
Yeah.
somewhat.
Well, you're just
Okay,
dealing with indexes. So just slicing deals with indexes. And so
gotcha.
this is index. I want to start at index 1. I want to go up to, but not including index 4. So it's just going to give me indexes 1, 2, and 3. Here, it's going to get me, I am negative if I don't give anything. So let's say I just gave nothing. It just was, there was no number. It was just :4. That's going to assume that I'm starting at 0 and go all the way up to, but not including to index 4. Vice versa, if I just gave 1 : and nothing after, so there was no 4 there, it was just empty, it's going to say start here, and it assumes it wants you to go all the way to the end of the list.
Okay. I'm big on examples. I love seeing examples because then it makes me think and try to figure it out.
Yeah,
I feel like we don't have enough examples in the course, me
sure,
personally.
sure. Then this is where ChatGPT will really come in handy, is you can say, give me a coding example of blank. It
Okay.
really help you. But
Yeah.
again, if you are learning and you don't know, like if I didn't know how to reverse the list, if we didn't get it working, I would not, you could come here and it's going to give you that answer. It's going to give you this. But what does this do for you at the moment, right? If either of you, and that's not a dig on anything, but if either of you just put that in and said, okay, give me the answer, and then you gave me this, I would immediately come to you and be like, help me understand. Like, what is that? Right? If you don't know, then it's going to be like homework. And this, maybe I should stop the recording before I say this, but whatever. Homework doesn't matter, right? My job is not for you to do homework. It does because you have to do it in order to pass the course. But my job is not for you to get really good homework grades. My job is for you to get ready and be prepared for you to get a job. And so that's my only, like, I'm very pro AI. I think you need to understand it and learn it. You're just going to shoot yourself in the foot if you don't use it. Like, here's a great way to use it. You could do this with your functions. You could do this with, you could do stuff like that. If you're like, okay, I got this working. It feels like it could be better, or it's not working. I'm really struggling. Help me understand what I'm doing wrong. Great. Like, use AI for that. I don't think you can in an exam though, technically. But if you're just doing it so you get a homework done, you're kind of, I say this in the nicest way possible. I'm fine on a job. I have one, right? You guys don't. And so it doesn't do anything for me if you do your homework, but you don't know how to code, because at the end of the day, it's you guys are going to have to go to the job interview. And unfortunately, though it would rule, you can't use ChatGPT in technical interviews. So if you don't know how to reverse a list, And then let's say for, $150,000 a year, all they want you to do is reverse a list. But you don't know how to do it because we just used AI, then you're going to really kick yourself. Do you still want to look at this for anything?
No, you're good. I was just
Cool.
was trying to understand the examples because it was up there, so I was like, oh, let me just look.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions, friends? Next time, what we'll do is we'll try to reverse an array or a list, but without creating a new one. So we're gonna do it in place. So it's a little bit harder. I was gonna try to get to it today, but we ended up just taking up time with both these, which is great. It was fun.
Yeah, but I really didn't like that one. I felt like it was too much.
It was.
It was confusing it. That's why I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I can't.
Yeah.
The simpler,
and
the better.
yeah, no, that's true. That's why even after we got it working, that's why I was like, this is gross. Because if I were to inherit this compared to this, I'm like, okay, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Using insert, you're just iterating through a list, easy. Here, I'm like, even I had to look and was like, what is going on here? Even ChatGPT did it a totally different way. It's like, what is going on? So yeah, I would agree. Not a great idea.
Cool. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I know that that Google has their own AI program. What is that?
It's called Bard.
Art?
Yeah, Bard,
B-A-R-D.
BARD.
Okay.
Also costs money if you want the good one. It's called Gemini, or I think it's called Gemini now. It's no longer Bard. Yeah, it's great. AWS has one called Code Whisperer. Like there's lots of them out there. There's lots of AIs now. It's kind of we're in the AI revolution. It's kind of sort of starting because it's pretty easy. ChatGPT, you can look at like a lot of real quick before I kind of get into that. Are there any other questions on the homework? And I'll stop the recording because we can kind of just
No, I
Okay.
think we're good.